My name is Greg Tapp. I'm the younger son of Eulalie Tapp. She was very kind and compassionate and caring, but she could also be quite feisty and was a fighter, quite outspoken and forthright, very community-minded. She came from a very working-class household as a child. She was very young and grew up during the Depression, and she was also involved in community things like Girl Guides and church activities and so forth as a child, and that, I think, drew her to socialism. Her two older brothers both went on to university. It was probably not financially viable for her to as well, and she decided to pick up a trade, which of course was dressmaking. She started her own business at 19 years of age, which was quite unusual for that time for a young woman to be starting a business in the Central Business District. It was a lifelong love. She loved doing it. She graduated from the McCabe Academy of Dressmaking with honours, which qualified her to teach dressmaking. She used to enjoy walking in the Botanic Gardens on Sundays. They used to have the Speaker's Corner there at Botanic Park, where the various political speakers would be on their soapbox. She was particularly drawn to the socialist sort of speakers, and apparently she sort of got involved with a group of young communists. One thing led to another there. She became state secretary of the Eureka Youth League, and from there into the Communist Party, so it was a sort of a natural progression, I guess. She was getting to the point where her own funds were quite low. She was doing all this unpaid work for the party, so she obviously had to earn a living. And she ended up leaving the party in 1947 to return to her dressmaking. But I think she just hated injustice of any sort, and I think she had a real thing about fairness. She ended up taking on this Aboriginal women's dressmaking class, which really meant a lot to her. They respected her and accepted her. She looked at as an honour and a privilege to be doing it.
Eulalie, you just mentioned that you remember one of the picnics from the Benithan Park of the Aboriginal children. Can you tell me about your experiences when you
I was delighted to be invited by Glad Elphick, who was an elder. She said that some of the Aboriginal women I had taught dressmaking to wanted me to go to show them what they'd made for their kids. So the kids lined up in the dresses that their mothers had made at my classes. So it was a real delight to be invited to that.
With the onset of the Vietnam War was probably really a bit of a second wave for her. She got quite involved in the anti-war movement, particularly the Save Our Sons organisation. My brother, being older than me, was at the age where he could have been conscripted, and she certainly was not wanting that to happen. So she got quite involved, and then via that, she got involved in the women's liberation movement at that time. Often called the second wave of feminism, and so she had quite a lot of activities going on. As she got older, she probably got more involved in more local issues, such as the campaign against nuclear energy to have Port Adelaide declared a nuclear-free zone, and she was also a foundation member of the Port Adelaide Residents' Environment Protection Group.
I went to the steering group committee trying to start our health centre, and that was hard work. It was really backing against the council. So we went to Dr. Cornwall at the time, and he was terrific. And he was the one who helped us get settled over here at Dale Street. But we had to get somewhere, get a place. So that we got this 2-storey place there, which is lovely. It was hard work.
Mum became a member of the Port Adelaide Historical Society. The old Semaphore Customs House was under threat at the time.
The old Customs House has now received the final insult. There's a move on the Port Adelaide Council to knock it down.
She arrived on site early one morning, this was in 1975, and when the bulldozers came in, they were going to demolish it that morning, and there was very few people. So she went to a phone box and contacted the Builders Labourers Federation, and then within 20 minutes, apparently 2 carloads of these burly builders labourers turned up and declared the site black and hoisted the Eureka flag atop the building, and of course work stopped and the bulldozers left. Eventually the demolition order was rescinded and the building was saved. If she hadn't been there that morning, the building may well not be there now. One of the anti-Vietnam marches, it ended up down the east end of Rundle Street for some reason. There was something burning, I don't know if it was an effigy of Nixon or something, and there was a band playing on the balcony of one of the hotels. There were police, they were trying to get the band shut up because they were just rocking away there, and the people in the street were just in a frenzy, and the police were on horses, and one came quite close to Mum and I and reared up. And she grabbed me and pulled me out of the way, and she gave this copper a lecture, and he actually looked embarrassed and went red because she was not a radical-looking person. She was always well-dressed, well-presented, well-groomed, and she gave him the tongue-lashing of the likes I've never heard, and she could be as feisty as if need be, but ordinarily she was quite sweet. You know, there was so many aspects to her character. Her name was incorporated on the Workers' Memorial in 2010. It means a lot to us to have her recognised in that way, even though she wouldn't have sought that herself. She was never really one seeking recognition, but to us it's important, and it's an honour to have her name there. Really, it means a lot to us.